data center strategy and the changing role of CIO. And for this, I would like to invite on stage our panel members first. We have Mr. Neeraj Chauhan, who is the CIO at PayU. Mr. Prashant Anthony, who is the Vice President Data Center Services at Sify Technologies Limited. Ms. Priya Kanduri, CTO and Vice President Cybersecurity Services at Happiest Mind Technologies. Mr. Kirtikar Ojha, who is the Sales and Marketing Head at L&T-Cloudfiniti. And this elite panel would be moderated by Mr. Sudeep Dey, who is the CIO at Healthcare Global Enterprises.
Good afternoon, panelists. Very enlightening 3 sessions we had, and some specific questions probably that will help further clarify. There are things I've gone through your profiles while I was told, and there are some curated questions which we would like to add on beyond those questions just to be more enlightened. We sit here with an open mind, as all of us are sitting, to get those finer details about what we have known, and since you are into those specific areas, probably they will be very helpful. Yeah. So may I start with Prashant and Mr. Kirtikar. Though we have heard you a lot, but we would like you to paint a picture of the data center in 2025 and beyond.
So, as I said, there is a strong point of data center being deployed in India. There are 24 players, 6 in the line, 30. Till now, about 900 megawatt have been plus minus have been deployed, and 1.3 gigawatt have been pledged. In the next 2 to 3 years, you will see a whole lot of deployment will start taking place, and a whole lot of capacity is being created. Are we still at par internationally? Answer is no. Not even with Singapore. Singapore with 54 lakh population, and we are 140 crore. You can understand that there is a huge gap and a headroom for more capacity deployment. To my mind, data center with edge data centers, generative AI, whole lot of power energy consumption will take place. We have spoken and talked about. Today we are talking about Open Titan project which Google launched, which talk about chip level security, wherein that chip level security will ensure the servers are getting booted with the renowned reliable framework and firmware. So we are talking about chip level cooling technology. Immersion cooling is passé. We are talking about chip level cooling, and still India is far behind the immersion cooling technology. I think India has to take huge leap. It is a huge investment, patience. All the data center players have to play a very important role. And last I will talk about is, as I said, e-waste management and the people, the trained, employable people availability in the market who will be able to orchestrate the entire various technology blocks into like a symphony. That will be the key point in the next 5 years for data center.
Mr. Kirtikar, your response is as inclusive as L&T's approaches to the project management, I must say. And thank you for touching upon the people part of it. I was curious, and Prashant, I would like to know, a lot of infra can be put in. We can bring in the machinery, and as Mr. Larsen's video was shown, the people factor will be important, and one of our fellow speakers also said that the human element will not be going out, obviously. So these data centers need to be managed in a very specific manner, and there is a whole lot of exercise which happens, which I am not aware of. I would like to hear from you because you do this day in, day out. Please.
So 2025, things definitely will change. Right from the people, process, as well as technology. What we have been talking about is a rack density of 15 kilowatt. We do some projects of 30. That will radically change again, go all the way to 50 kilowatt per rack, 60 kilowatt per rack. From perimeter cooling, it will be liquid cooling, immersion, definitely on. Today, as we speak, there is no standard for immersion cooling. Various vendors are trying to do different things of their own. So those standards will start to arrive, and that is where the inflection point will then come in, where these technologies will go up rapidly. And again, from the personal point of the human point of view, the type of people that were required to manage the current architecture is a lot different, because we ourselves have seen a radical change in the way people have to upgrade their own skills while they're trying to do operations for a regular data center vis-a-vis a hyperscale data center, and so much of complexities around it. So with water coming all the way to the rack or going all to the component, the type of processes that are required will also change rapidly. The type of people and their skill sets will also change rapidly. The monitoring tools that are required to monitor all those architecture will also change. Today, BMS and TCIM tools do certain things, but then that further level of information, granularity of management in the BCIM would also be required. Safety standards will continue to go in. We now talked about no-wake gas. Now, no-wake gas would manage certain things well, but there is a phase-out time for it. Now we are going to do something which was a taboo till some time ago. Data centers are putting water mist system, the way we see in here. Those are to be put in on top of servers. Now initially somebody says, मैं आपके server में पानी डालने वाला हूँ. It would be a PAP, it would be a sacrilege. But now these standards are coming in because no-wake gas is being phased out. So it will be, because now the batteries are coming inside the rack. So those different type of racks are coming, and we know there are some pictures of EVs catching fire and there's a thermal runaway. To prevent certain situations, say as like that, in the server hall, a different set of fire suppression system are required. So from year 2025 onwards, especially when these type of new technologies will come in, that architecture is due for a rapid change, definitely rapid change.
And sorry to extend, and I believe all of us would like, we are in a way subscriber to your services. I would like to know, and going back to the question, do you in your enterprise do something to build up the skill sets of people? Do you collaborate academically with institutions so that we have a ready generation to take over such kind of, these hyperscalers and all that? Just ask.
There is
either.
Best people person is here.
Yes.
So we have, as I said, we have got LTIM team. We have an entire process of training and recruitment. As a CSR, we are doing a lot of reskilling under the Skill India program. We are taking people from tribal belt and other people who have the last man standing in the queue for development. We are taking them and bringing them to our training institutes in Panvel, in Navi Mumbai, which is a CSR activity that we do. Third, so EduTech, as you said, is a electronic digital platform for education, the modern education that we are trying to do. Work in progress. We are building up some modules which can scale up our activities and capabilities for facing the challenges of the next decade or so. There are a whole lot of things which we are doing at this point in time. And you are right, the skilling of manpower, and I still say, and I read somewhere some 20 years back, employment is not the problem in India. Employability is the problem in India. And that we'll continue to face this. Who is more employable?
Correct.
And for that you need to have your own courses, your own methods, your own classrooms orientation to create a breed of professionals who are suiting to your end objectives. That becomes important.
Very nicely answered. Shifting the gears and to make it a little more towards the commercial side, not on the technical side, one by one to both of you, I would like to understand, are you, as PayU, are you completely public cloud or hyperscaler oriented, or you have captive data centers? And how does it look for you in coming times? What are your thought processes related to the data center part?
So, we are on a hybrid model. Okay. There are few assumptions because we are seen as a new generation company or new generation company. Yes. So, and people think every new generation company get birth in a cloud. That's not the correct assumption. I believe. Okay. All the products at the design level. At that time, we take a decision whether it should be on a public cloud, it should be on a private cloud, or should be on a colo. Because, see, no solution is applicable for all. No size fit all. And and these are my personal strong views. Whether it's a public cloud or whether a private cloud, both has certain values which will never gonna go away. Because there are certain aspects which took the data center or the private cloud to a certain level. Okay, they have strong fundamental pillars in which they run, and even cloud is like a more than 15 years or something like that public, but they are still getting mature.
Yeah.
So data center or private, I simply use word data center and cloud for those things.
Yeah, please.
So matching data centers will always have an advantage of first preference. Okay, or like they started early. That's the advantage they always have. And if you have expertise, okay, usually if you ask anybody or like in a normal way, if somebody is really lacking the system engineering or platform engineering in their newly appointed guys, because initially you just want to have a developer or like sales. That's how these company grow, right? But so you, for maintaining a cloud with a less expert like platform engineers or system engineers, then cloud is an easy thing to go. Okay, but when you reach to a certain point, even in cloud, because there also everything is not by a public cloud provider. Security, I'm just taking an example. Security is also the like shared responsibilities. So at certain point, you need to invest the resources. At I think you only said everything is all about people. Okay, you can give any machine to anyone. There is a saying in army also. It's not the machine which wins you the war. It's the man behind the machine. Okay, and same analogy goes with your data center and cloud also. Cloud just give you a little bit easiness to start with. Okay, and nowadays data centers, okay, especially there are a few, I'm not naming them, okay, but their technology and their offerings are just as matchable as the public cloud providers. And that's what I meant when I said in the starting, the data centers will always have an advantage because they are already at certain stage. If somebody do something, they will also accommodate that skill set because their fundamentals are there. Even on public cloud, at the end of the day, they are also running in some data centers only.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the reality. So if you have the skill set and if you have interest to invest really deep, not many public players can beat the advantage of data centers. And this is coming out from a typical cloud guy. I'm known as a cloud guy because in last 10 years I am doing cloud. 2011 I started my cloud journey. Before that I was a typical data center guy. Okay, but still I have a lot of love and affection for the data center. Typical data center guy, and that not gonna go away from me because that's now in my DNA. Yeah. Okay, so if as I keep saying, if you have the right skill set, you can do magic with your data center also. You need not to be like it's not must to have a cloud. Okay, it's just on your business priorities, what push is required for a particular product, and just from the requirement of like the simple business objective, you should choose or you should opt to be which one is the right choice for you. These are my personal views. It's not.
No, of course, we are to share our own personal experiences, professional experiences, and also show affinity to something which if you feel strongly about something, why not? Yes. Right. So on that note, I would like to come to you, Priya, to understand, because you also handle the security portfolio. How have you constituted. What are your thoughts? There were forums in which I saw CIOs mostly talk about if there are multiple projects, digital transformation, that is all very lucrative. One thing which is keeping them awake is security, right? And including myself, and I'm sure many of us here. How do you perceive this, and how do you think that we should be getting ready? So 2 questions molded into one.
Thank you. As you mentioned, and I also agree, security, cybersecurity specifically, in many cases still becomes an afterthought. There are digital transformation, cloud migration strategies, a lot of them already in place, and I've seen some large organizations that I work with. In my role and capacity, I also am the head of cybersecurity business within Happiest Mind. So I deal with a lot of customers and their security strategies and transformations and priorities. There are still few large organizations that I come across where they would say our cloud transformation journey has been underway for 2 to 3 years, and now we would like to see if we can secure it. And these were the old data center days where you do something and then you secure it. But now it should be thought through from the beginning. And it still is a little disintegrated in many cases that I see. But few organizations get it right. There are few organizations that we work with where cybersecurity is taken as a priority, and it's built into the strategies right from the day they start contemplating which cloud to choose or which strategy to deploy, and they would eventually get it right in less cost. You know, when it's an afterthought, it does get more complicated than necessary and gets very expensive also. And once again, dealing with multiple customers, and I've also been part of this cloud journey along with our customers for the past 10 plus years. Some of the key considerations that we have to keep in mind when looking at security architecture for the next generation data center. We're not talking about 23, we're talking about 25 and beyond. The complexities are only going to increase. So the expectation, design considerations would be a cybersecurity strategy that caters to all nature of cloud deployments, single cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid, private, what we talked about. And also, one of the design considerations also is that your data center is available all the time. Unlike how it used to be earlier, customers want it to be available everywhere, available all the time. That's become one of the decision-making points when they choose the services. The availability and downtime, and even 99.99 doesn't seem to be enough nowadays. And I have customers asking us, so what happens in that 0.01%, and what does that translate to minutes, and do you know how many transactions happen for us during that 0.01%? So that's one of the key considerations. And number 3, of course, is going beyond traditional security. I'm sure everybody has gone through the likes of DLPs and cloud natives and security monitoring and threat intelligence and security operations centers. That's for today. We're talking about next generation, so look at those considerations. And also, of course, keep it all within the cost. These are going to be the design considerations. And for those who are looking at security architecture for next generation data centers, there are 3 or 4 things that I would say are really important. One is the sophistication of attacks is increasing every day, every month, every year. So being prepared to have detection and prevention methods in place for sophisticated attacks that are happening today and tomorrow. Now everybody is talking about employing GenAI, and I'm sure the bad guys have thought about it even before us. So the attacks will get more and more sophisticated. So think beyond the traditional measures and look at preventions for sophisticated attacks such as cybersecurity built in at appliance levels, runtime protection, open source security vulnerability scans, not just what we do on infrastructure or applications, but go beyond that, web and API protection, especially choosing these technologies that have zero-day prevention capabilities, that have bot detection capabilities, that can detect attacks or try to prevent the ones that originate from supply chains. These are These are the critical aspects to look at. Once again, I'm going beyond the traditional areas of security here. And number two, of course, is automation. As much automation as possible. Today, once again, when I'm working with organizations, those who have purchased the most expensive automation tools and techniques still haven't achieved even 20% of automation that's possible of
With
the
that
overall.
tool.
Yeah, with the tools that are possible, and they're paying like $1 million every year, but not even making 20% of it. It's
What could be the possible reason for not being able to realize? Is it that inherently people are not made aware? Because I come across similar situations. I come from an healthcare industry. We buy products which are for treatment. Many a times they are at 30% utilization, not from the capacity point of view, but from the features point of view. What could be a possible reason of people not realizing this? Not aware, not being told, not willing? What is
See, healthcare is a classic example. Healthcare and pharma and all the life sciences which have come to the forefront from an organization services perspective. But what happens is these are the organizations that have extremes. You have extremely legacy technology and extremely modern technology, and most of the legacy is not even discovered. It doesn't even figure out in the asset discovery or asset inventory per se. Most of the equipment in hospitals or manufacturing sites, nobody even knows that these devices are existing. They're not even part of it, so some of the prevention, detection areas don't even happen. And compatibility, once again, there are, again, few organizations that we work with. The operating systems have to be upgraded for them to become compatible with latest
That's
prevention technologies, but
That's
they
right.
would not even let us touch those because nobody knows what happens if you touch those.
That's true.
That's the other area. And then there is this constant struggle between who owns automation. I don't know how many of you come from security or IT or infra or CIOs or whatever, but we have this constant struggle that should automation be handled from a security perspective or should it be an infra perspective, and we sometimes get stuck. We want to automate something, but you don't get the necessary stakeholders to become part of it. Don't touch my devices, don't touch my firewall, don't touch this, don't touch that. This cannot be automated. This has to remain a manual activity. So there's a lot of mindset problems as well. These are the three. None of them are technical, by the way. The technology supports and the automation supports, and I have seen organizations, few next gen ones, those who have achieved 80% automation when it comes to detection and prevention. And the SOAR technologies that we have available today are capable of doing it. They have hundreds of built-in playbooks, and we can do as much automation as possible, but we are not achieving because
Mind
of...
is running a SOC service as well.
Yes. But we are not able to achieve it because of the non-technical challenges. But once again, for next generation data center, as we are all talking about, to be effective and safe and secure, employing as much automation, going beyond these barriers is very important. And a third point, of course, is definitely this has been there for the last 20 years and this will be there for the next 20 years, bringing it all together. Security cannot be operated in silos, and bringing it all together. And again, just going on shopping doesn't help. Look at what you already have. What more can we get from what we already have? Are we making the best use of what we already have? And then look at what is the delta and buy what's required is very important. Otherwise, I've seen organizations who are spending 15 to 20 million on cybersecurity on a yearly basis, but they've not achieved what they need to achieve. So bringing it all together and making the most out of what is optimized security is the right word, I would say, is also a very critical architecting principle.
Wow, great. Thank you. Offline, I'd like to ask people on behalf, maybe if the questions are over, on what is the advice for people who are already into the journey and now like to improvise. All right. But for the finishing of the question, I would like to ask you, when as a CIO, as a CTO, if you have to prioritize or do BCP, what are the things which are there in your mind?
See,
how do you approach this?
It's always more you code, more problems you solve. And I'm going to support Priya's point on the automation. Okay, automation is at the end of the day, it's just coding. Like that's how I see it. So more manual steps involved in any task, not just in BCP. Okay, you are more prone to errors. So playbooks, everybody can make the playbooks. and everything. You can go as you want. But if manual intervention is needed in your entire event, then you are putting yourself for a failure. So same goes with BCP, because BCP is not just like a, you wish to have like a click on one button and then traffic move to another data center or another region or location. But that not happens usually. If you have active one where you are doing the traffic management via DNS, then it's a different league altogether. Okay, but I haven't seen many players at a scale they are doing it for that DNS traffic management.
Neeraj, in your business, do you find questions that, you know, if nothing should happen to these set of applications, yeah, rest we can manage and live with? Have you come across such guidances, or do you engage in such conversations with your business partners?
Yes, I do. I do.
You know, some certain things which are like non-negotiable. Those cannot go down at any time. Something like that. What kind of conversations?
Yes. So even the current regulations, if somebody read it carefully, the uptime and availability is a major focus for our government. You read any circular, whether from RBI or whether from any other agencies, the focus they have when they talk about the outsourcing guideline, there, if you read it carefully or deep, it's all about availability. And any application, not just the main application, the dependent or peripherals of that application or product is also under the scope. So there are very few like dependent or like you can say internal applications which get away from the from the scope. But it's not advisable, because even for internal applications, ultimately they are serving you and they are serving your customers. So thinking should be
from that perspective.
From that perspective, it doesn't change.
Understood.
And when I was saying, when you were asking me whether you get into discussions where people say, can we take out those applications? I do get engaged into that, because when you go with the playbook, okay, or you can say framework for any organization, or like a SRE template, site reliability, there are specific things where cost is involved to implement those measures. And any business owner or like a product owner, initially when they are ramping up their product, they don't want to adhere that cost. It mainly comes from cost perspective. Otherwise, nobody wants their product to be unstable. That's a no-brainer in that. And if we can manage the cost effectively for that also, and there are ways to do that. And it's not dependent upon whether it's a data center or cloud. Cost is always in your control.
Correct.
If you know what you are eating, what you are consuming in your plate, you can always control your weight. Sorry, I get into that very often.
Anyways, you look to be fit.
Yeah, everybody tries to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so if you are able to manage the cost effectively, you can give the same treatment for the all application, irrespective of whether it's a public application or whether it's your internal this thing. One more thing, when Priya was mentioning about the transformation or digital transformation, I have seen hundreds of times when we talk about digital transformation, people always mingle it with like a cloud transformation. Digital transformation is not a cloud transformation. You can do I keep saying, you can do hell lot of magics in data center in terms of digital transformation. It's just like cloud give you a small edge to run on your feet or like walk on your feet. But if you are a marathon guy, okay, you will prefer data center because that will give you the other aspect much more in a controlled manner. Sorry, I keep going back.
No, come on. It is very, again, comes from the conviction. So I'd like to ask, do you get questions from your prospective clients or clients We have heard so much that the data centers mostly must be doing L&T initiatives we heard. Do they lay a lot of emphasis on ESG? They ask you questions related to that. What kind of questions do you come across?
So first is there are global compliances by governments. Then even India government has its own plans, and each of the large company that I work with, especially in the hyperscale or large ones, have their own standard that they have set in.
Yep.
So every year we get a compliance document to be filled in, and they are extremely serious about the type of responses that are put up and the follow-up activities that are done to improve it to the next level. So they are extremely paranoid about it. Now, it is not only about a set of questions and the responses, but how it gets implemented. There are audits that really happen around it, and sustainability or ESG is here to stay, and that is something that will make the data center provider a better organization. It will make the customers also a better organization. So it has been understood well by the data center operators themselves, the way we do it at Sify. So ESG is a proper focus, and for us, the way I would look at it is there are 3 practical steps to get into implementation of ESG. I mean, sometimes I feel funny when there is a poster of a server rack in a very nice garden and there are some creepers around it. It's farce. I mean, it doesn't look that way. What I told earlier was servers run on coal. It's a fact because everything is on thermal. So for me, the 3 approaches that we take, one is the devices that you select have to be optimized, because as a co-location provider, when I put a large server hall, I don't populate the entire server hall on day one. It's slowly populated, especially from enterprises. So the efficiency has to be higher even at lower occupancy levels. That's where the selection of equipment comes in. So they might be expensive sometimes, a lot expensive, but efficiency level have to be high. So that is about the selection of the equipment. Again, the redundancy levels have to be optimal. I can create a 1+1 and 1+3 for 1:3 failover architectures, but do I genuinely need it? If I have the right redundancy levels, I can still give 100% uptime. That is what has been achieved. So the redundancy levels have to be matched. Secondly, the processes. How I do an operating procedures. Most often, we have seen that if the operating procedures are not right, the bus bars heat up. The UPSs go to a different level. Their capability to give power for the full 15 minutes goes radically downwards. So all those are part of the operating procedures that we have to really inculcate into. Follow standards like ASHRAE. Increase the temperature, because now the server storages can really work even up to 20 to 30 degrees. So make your server hall temperature to the right level where you are able to have lower PUEs, there is lesser load on the environment, and pass on the benefits of a lower PUE to the customer.
Correct.
So everybody is benefited. My cost come down, the customer's cost come down, and the environment gets benefited. Third, source green power. And that is what we've been exactly doing. We have signed 200 megawatt of green power contracts. 100 megawatt already landed. My Mumbai data center is extremely green, close to 60% green. My data center in Bangalore is 84% green. So, and that's for real. And the benefit is for all to see and get. So that is what we do. So we invest, and those timelines to get a green power is close to 2 years. Because the solar panel have to be imported. Before that, the land has to be bought. All the processes have to be done around it. Buy the solar panel, which is again lead time. Then put in the APT meters at our end. Have the regulations cleared with the electricity board. Do a transmission up, do a transmission down. Have proper wheeling mechanism done, and all this. And in doing all this, meet the regulations also of the electricity boards. There are different regulations for intrastate, different regulations for interstate, and they have to be really taken care of. So we really focus in a very structured way to do the sustainability part.
Mr. Kirtikar, I would like to know, do you get questions about data privacy and information security when your customers are reaching out to you?
Yeah, hugely. Today, people are talking about power or data. There are 2 talks which clients generally ask. So starting from physical, And there is a unique concept in India that people want to visit data center physically before finalizing a deal. In America or Europe, doesn't happen. You are not supposed to get inside a data center. You are not supposed to go inside, but that is how Indian customers behave. So, and nothing right and wrong, but that is how it goes. And then they will start checking your physical part, the 7-layer security system, or its 8-layer, and then what all mechanism that you have evolved in terms of your electronic data privacy. Today, we are talking about cloud storage, we are talking about a whole lot of storage in cloud already in place, and they're working fine. So far, so good. Different commercial models are impacting clients because of data being put on cloud. But yes, clients are conscious. In fact, I see a lot of cloud storage coming into a physical form inside a data center.
Correct.
Where client would manage or would ask the data center provider to manage the data perspective because of the hidden egress cost which the cloud operators charge at the time of downloading your own data.
Yes.
So the privacy, yes, you have to have your own processes and you have to be very transparent about it. And with different changing model and different choice of hardware and software, I think it's still manageable. I see no reason why things will not improve further from here.
Okay. So we are done with the questions here. Anything from the audience? Anybody would like to ask anything? Thank you for being such a patient listener, and thank you, panelists.